What's up, everybody? Episode 19 today. We are going to Anguilla, and we're starting this new little series where we're going to break down some of the Caribbean islands. We're going to tell you what hotels you should stay at, why you should go to that specific island, what makes this island unique, and how you're going to get there. So this is going to be part one or episode one of this little sub-series. Jamie, have you even been to Anguilla? What's your initial thoughts here?
I have been. I went Thanksgiving of 2023, I think it was, maybe 2024. I can't remember honestly, but I think it was 23. But yeah, I did go visit. We went for 5 nights, I think it was. I really enjoyed the island. I'll get into a little bit more, but yeah, I definitely enjoyed the island. I like the food. I like the vibe of the island. The beaches were beautiful. So, I have been there and I would definitely go back.
Perfect. Question number one then, who should go to Anguilla? Like what kind of vacation are you getting there?
So I mean, it's a good island for a lot of different people. Historically, I would have said it was a great place for couples to go. Most properties there are on the higher end, so fairly luxurious. It's not a super populated island, so not a, it's not like a Grand Cayman or Aruba or something where there's a ton of stuff there. Um, but now, actually, while I was there, Aurora Anguilla, which is one of the properties we'll hit on, they opened up a water park at their property. So that becomes a much more enticing option for people with kids and families and stuff like that. So, more to do than just necessarily, sit on the beach. So I think a lot of the properties are going to be more probably couple luxury centric, but there's some really good, beautiful things for kids and families to see. So we brought the kids when we went, and I believe the kids had a really good time. And if we stayed at Aurora, they'd probably enjoy it even more with the water park and things to do there.
Perfect. A couple fun facts about Anguilla is the population is 15,931. So I imagine anywhere you live has more people than that. I mean, there's some people probably out here in rural America, but there you go. And the land area of the whole island is 35 square miles, which is probably more than most people drive in a day in America, I would imagine.
Yep.
So pretty interesting. It says the official language is English. Is that your experience?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely my experience. It is a, British overseas territory. I believe it may even still be governed by the UK. I don't know that 100% for sure, but I believe it's still a British overseas territory.
Okay. So it's maybe too like a good first Caribbean island for some people if they're not the most comfortable traveling overseas with English being there.
Yeah.
So we got kind of who would go there. What is there something you feel like there's like unique that you can experience there that's better here than other islands?
I think what's nice about this island in particular, I would say it's got some of the most beautiful beaches in the Caribbean, mixed with it's not a super populated island. So when we were staying at Zemi Beach House, which I'm going to lie on which beach this is on. I think it was on, I don't know if it was Shoal Bay or Meads. It was one of the famous beaches. I can't remember off the top of my head. But we would go for a walk on the beach and we would be the only people on the beach, right? So it's Thanksgiving, which is a pretty busy travel time for most of America. We could walk down the beach at sunset or in the morning, and you would see like one or two other people maybe on the beach. So I think that's really unique compared to many places that you'll travel to. And you'll hit on this, but I think it's not the easiest place to get to. So that leads to, it not being so popular and not being as busy and things like that. The food I really enjoyed. So I know there's a lot of like, fancy restaurants and some really high end places here, but we did a lot of like roadside barbecue and things like that, which are pretty cool. And I'll probably hit on a few of those as we go along, but there's some really good local spots that you can get you know, some fun food.
Nice. Uh, Maybe you don't know this answer, maybe you do. With it being more of a remote island, is it an island that the cruise ships are going to frequent, or are you going to see less of that here?
None. So no cruises dock, no cruises dock here, which is really nice. So you don't get that rush of people or anything like that. It's fairly close to St. Martin, but I don't even think any excursions or anything like that like venture over to Anguilla.
So that's pretty unique, just alone, right?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool just in itself.
That was one of my favorite things about the island. I mean, no matter where you went, there was never any crowds, right? Whether it was the beach or if you went to a restaurant, it was, you only have what, 5 or 6 like main hotels on the island, and then it's a bunch of like villas and homes and stuff like that. And it's a lot of people that it's either second homes or live there. Like this is not a huge touristy island like, a St. Martin or St. Thomas or something like that. So real laid back vibe. Everything was, like I said, I went during Thanksgiving and nothing was busy. So I imagine there's not a time that you're going to go where it feels like super crowded.
Perfect. Is there like a season that you think it's better to be there than others?
I think this is a similar to like a Aruba or something. I feel like the year round temperature is pretty consistent, like 80, 85. You probably, you kind of go late summer through, you know, Christmas time or so is probably, peak time, but I feel like year round is pretty, moderate temperatures, similar, we had nice breeze, things like that.
Okay. Yeah, and just a couple notes. It looks like in the research that I did, it said August, September, October is the highest hurricane risk for the island. So if you're sensitive to that, or at least if you're going to book, be prepared for that. And even if you avoid a hurricane, that is like their more rainy season, but it is like a tropical rain where generally it's not going to rain all day. You're going to get a big 30-minute to hour storm and it will clear through. And then an interesting, like when you went, November is kind of listed as one of the slower seasons, but they do note
Interesting.
in my notes from the Chamber of I was about to say Chamber of Commerce, but that's obviously not correct. But the travel, whoever people of Anguilla, it's not coming to me at the moment. They were saying that November is a start of slow season, but that also is where it still has really good weather. And outside of Thanksgiving, I'm assuming lower prices. Probably not
Yeah, I
on
mean,
Thanksgiving itself, but
we had great weather. For being November, some places you go can start to get a little cooler. I mean, not cold, but cooler. But yeah, we were at the beach and pool pretty much every day.
nice. Perfect. And then let's talk about how we're going to get there because this is a lot more complicated than you would
Yes.
initially think. So, I'm going to talk about there are really only two options from the United States of America for you to fly direct into Anguilla. Then I'm going to have you talk about a secret way to get there, and then I'm going to talk about some more options. So, you essentially have a Miami flight on American Airlines, you have a Fort Lauderdale flight on American Airlines. And then you can do San Juan, Puerto Rico on Silver Airways. No,
Okay.
sorry. I thought it was Silver Airways, but it looks like it's Trade Wind Aviation. That's a new
Okay.
one. It is a 32-inch seat width, which is not bad. I swore Silver Airways did some flights either, but that's not pulling up right now. So we'll just stick with the actual data versus my made up opinions. Now, Tradewind will also connect you to St. Bart's, Antigua, and a few other options, but it's pretty limited. So, realistically, you're flying anywhere in the country to Miami, probably on American Airlines, and then you're transferring. Now, when you went, you opted to do a ferry. So tell us about this ferry and where does this ferry take you?
Yep. So I actually did both. So I flew in on American. So I went to the airport, super tiny airport. Like there's not even a baggage claim. They just like throw your luggage in a room through a door and you just grab it. So it's super quick and easy. But then on the way home, we were able to get a direct flight from St. Martin, so from SXM. And to do that, you take a ferry over. It was about 20 to 30 minutes. It was kind of an interesting process because you're going through immigration to leave Anguilla. You then go through like a quick immigration when you dock in St. Martin, and you kind of like shuttle from the ferry onto this van, and the van drops you right off at the like entrance of the airport. It's pretty seamless. So when you book the ferry, the van's already included and everything. So the process is pretty smooth. Like you don't have to think about like, oh, where do I catch this bus, or where do I go? They just kind of like usher you through. Like everyone on the ferry is going to the airport. So um, it's not a bad process. I get fairly seasick, and it didn't bother me too much. Yeah, it was. I may be making this up, like $60 or $70 a person, something like that. And I
Okay.
think a lot of that is like the arrival and departure taxes that each island charges.
Sure. Okay. Now, if the idea of a ferry is disgusting to you, and you don't mind flying on one of the smallest airplanes in the world, a Britten-Norman Islander Q3610, which, if you know what a Cessna is, that's basically what you're looking at. There is a airline called Anguilla Air Service that takes the 10-minute flight. You heard that correctly. It is a 10-minute flight. I almost just wanted to say that I've flown a 10-minute flight. And they seem to do like 10:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:45 throughout the day. So just the idea of a ferry is just a deal breaker. That is another way you can open up this flight. I will say you probably need to do some research, or if you would like us to help you with a trip, we can do some research. But I would imagine the biggest issue you're going to run into flying this airline is going to be if you're a big baggage carrier. If you have a lot of luggage, it's probably not going to be an option for you. Or you're going to have to figure out a way to get your luggage to the island, because I would imagine this plane is, you're probably flying with your luggage in your lap for those 10 minutes already. So if you've got like 3 bags,
and
a
you're
person,
probably
it's
paying
definitely
by
not
the
gonna
pound.
fly. Oh yeah, yes.
I know the last time I flew a small like Caribbean airline, it was like once you were over 30 pounds, you were paying like $2 a pound, or it wasn't a lot, but like you were paying by the pound over a certain weight.
Did they make you get on a scale? Was your weight relevant to the issue?
Our weight wasn't in there, but yeah, I mean, your bags go on there and they're like, all right, it's, 30 pounds over, $60.
So I forget where we were, but somewhere in Africa, they weighed us too. And it was like you and your luggage had to be under a certain weight. And I was like, well, this is offensive.
Yep. Never fly in America.
Yeah. So now that we've taken this ferry or this imaginary flight, well, it's not imaginary. You've now flown. We're on St. Martin, which is one of the coolest airports in the world. If you haven't actually looked at planes landing at St. Martin, you should definitely check that out on YouTube or wherever TikTok, however you'd like to watch your videos these days. St. Martin opens up a lot of options, including like you can do Paris direct on Air France. You've got some other overseas options. I think even Copa will take you to Panama City. You can get to some of the other islands, but importantly, I think some of the big focus cities where most of our listeners are going to have options to is you can do New York on JetBlue. You can do United with DC, Chicago on United, Miami on Spirit, Boston on JetBlue, Toronto with WestJet, which is a partner of Delta, if anyone's unaware. Orlando, you can do Frontier, Atlanta, Delta, Philadelphia, American, Charlotte, American, and then Fort Lauderdale is also Spirit. Baltimore is direct on United. I found that one kind of interesting. Minneapolis has Delta and Sun Country. And then Montreal has an airline I've never heard of, so pardon my ignorance here, but Sunwing Airlines has a direct from Montreal. That was a new one for me. So you've got a lot of options. If you're anywhere west of Minneapolis, you've got nothing. Dallas also still doesn't go to St. Martin with American, which I find interesting. I'm more shocked Houston doesn't have a flight from United. So you've got Minneapolis, Chicago, Atlanta, and then I would say everything East Coast is covered. Everywhere else, you're kind of looking at a layover connection situation, which is never the most fun, but it's not the worst thing ever. If you want to get some real creative flights too, you can actually go take Win Air to into Colombia from there as well, parts of Colombia. If you're just looking for a very creative trip, I was
going to say, you're not selling me on that.
I just said it's possible. I didn't say I was going to do that, but I just throwing out there, once you're in St. Martin, you have a lot more connectivity, right?
Yeah.
So now that you know kind of how to get there, I think most people have a good, you've got all the majors, right? Delta's flying you there, United, American, and then you've got some of the budget airlines. Maybe now that Southwest is investing in something, maybe they'll be able to take something other than US dollars and start flying there too. Who knows? But seems unlikely.
I would say if you can one connect on American through Miami or Fort Lauderdale, I would fly directly into there, but I would not do 2 connections. I would fly into St. Martin at that point and ferry over. That'd be my recommendation.
I will say I kind of like what you did. I think what you did. I wouldn't mind flying directly there, going through Miami, taking the ferry and flying home another way. I just say that because Miami is one of the worst places to re-enter the country into. I don't know. Immigration there sucks.
Yeah, that's fair.
Transiting that airport's awful. So if you could do a one stop into Miami, go there directly, ferry home, and then you have a lot more options. But I agree with you. I think if you can do a one stop and get there direct, do it. If not, you know, two stop. But it
And
is
I will
nice that you've
say,
got the ferry.
yeah, and it's not bad. I was gonna say, so we rented a car. I don't know if we were gonna go there, but we rented a car. There's not like major car rental services here, so you're not gonna be using like Hertz and National and stuff like that. So these are like small companies. We used Andy's car rental, and it was probably Andy that met us at the airport. It's mostly like Japanese imports. So we had like a right-hand drive CRV, but they've got like some Accords and Toyotas and stuff like that. But it's super flexible. So like we picked the car up at the airport, right? So like there's just a guy out there waiting for you, gives you the car. And we're like, hey, we're going to be taking the ferry back. Can we, return it there? He's like, yeah, just throw the keys under under the mat, take a picture where the car is and text me it. Right. So like super flexible. I mean, the cars were, you know, they're higher mile like Japanese imports, but the cars are fine to get around the island. And I would probably say it's worth getting a rental car. It's nice to go out and explore and hit some local spots while you're there.
Nice. Are you sure it was Andy's rental car? I only
Yeah.
asked that. Okay. I only asked that because there's an Andy's rental car in the Cayman Islands as well. So maybe
Yeah,
Andy's on
it's
the come up.
Mr. Worldwide. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely Andy's. It's andysrentals.com if anyone wants to check it out. But yeah, it was a smooth process. And it was fine.
Cool. I like so there's no like national chain option. Like you have no national, no Hertz, no Avis.
I don't think so. If there is, there's maybe like one of them, and the prices was probably outrageous or something. But
Okay.
even the hotel was like, "Hey, you like use one of these people," and it was, it was like $50 or $60 a day. Like it wasn't expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just looking. A Toyota Crown is $350 for a week. A CRV is $385 for the week. Like it's very reasonable.
A Toyota Crown is basically Camry, essentially. So what side of the road are they driving on then? So you got your right-hand drive car. Are you on the left side
Yeah,
or right side of the road?
it's funny. I was trying to think through. I believe we were driving on the opposite side of the road, if I remember right.
Okay. I mean, you are in Turks and Cayman Islands, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and another thing we did that was pretty fun, and I would definitely recommend anyone that's on the island to do this. We rented one of those mokes. I don't know if you've seen those. They're like it's like fancy looking like golf carts essentially. But we rented one of those one day, and it was just fun to like tool around the island and check out the sights. And we went to drove that to dinner and things like that. So that was really fun. And Moke Anguilla will actually just like whatever day you rent it for, they'll bring it to your hotel, drop it off for you, and then come back and pick it up the next day. So like you don't have to go out of the way. It's just like waiting in the parking lot for you, which was really cool.
And those are road legal. It's like a road legal golf cart, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, we drove it everywhere on the island.
Nice. Well, do you know what the range on those is?
Well, the island's small enough that I think we could have drove around all day and it wasn't going to die. So
that's probably fair.
Know.
See if I can pull it up real quick. It says, 50 to 75 miles. So yeah, you probably can't really do that much damage.
Yeah, and it looks like these. I was just looking at pricing. It was like 140 to 200 insurance included for the day. So it's not like super cheap, but something fun to do for the day. It was not bad at all.
And that's a fun experience to cruise around. They're like a little open air. I did come across somebody saying that they rented a Suzuki Jimmy at the Anguilla airport. If you can rent one of those, I 1000% encourage you to. It's essentially like a two-door miniature Jeep Wrangler, and they still make them new in Japan. Suzuki still makes them. Who even knew Suzuki was A, in business, or B, still making cars? But they're like a real popular. They were like a realistic competitor to the Jeep back in the 70s. And obviously those two brands have diverged. But man, if I had a chance to drive one of those, I would take it up. They're just, I don't know. It's just like a cool car we don't get in the States. They're like it's like almost like a mini Bronco or something for these days if you pull it up. But I would be excited to get my hands on one of those.
That'd be fun.
For sure. Yeah. All right. I think we kind of covered the nuts and bolts of Anguilla here. What is your first hotel? Lay it on us. What do you got?
I'm going to do Zemi Beach House first, just because that is somewhere that I stayed. So I did verify it is on Shoal Bay. So it's really pretty beach. I really liked the property. It was on the smaller side. I want to say maybe like 100 hotel rooms or so, like fairly limited, but it was It was really nice. It had everything we needed, right? So it's got multiple pools. So it's got a pool that overlooks the beach. It's got a pool that's like set back, an infinity pool. I think it may have technically been an adult pool, kind of like nestled in among some of like the villas and stuff. And that was also kind of looked out over the beach area. Ton of
Okay.
different ton of different like room and accommodation options. So when we stayed, we had just like connecting ocean view rooms, and the square footage was really really large. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would say these things were probably 500 square foot plus. I'm just pulling it up while we're talking through it. But
Okay.
then there's other rooms that have their own like little infinity pools that look out over look out over the ocean, which was really pretty. Um, just pulling up what these standard rooms are. Give me all suites. These are all like 700 square feet, but what's a regular room? Where'd you go? If these are saying the rooms are 700 square feet. They were big rooms. So don't quote me on this, but everything is showing like 700 square feet, king ocean view, private balcony. Yeah, the rooms were really, really big. The bathrooms were really like well appointed. Definitely felt high end, super luxury. The dining there was good. They did like a beach barbecue the one night. So that was really cool. The restaurants were, I mean, it's a smaller property, so there's not a ton of restaurant options. But breakfast every morning was really good. We did dinner there a couple times. Trying to think what else. There was a kids club. Mike Ashton never wants to go to the kids club, but he met a kid at the pool and they went to the kids club, and it was like just the two of them there every day. So they got to play
Nice.
video games and kind of do whatever they wanted. It's located right, obviously, on the beach, and there's not much else along this beach. So it's not like there's not other hotels or things like that. There's some villas and stuff, but like I said, when you go walk along the beach, you are the only people out walking along this beach, and you could walk for, I don't know, it felt like close to a mile maybe in one direction, and really like just you just walked till the beach ran out, right? And it was really beautiful. There was a beach bar up the way a little bit. And you could walk up there. We did lunch there one day. So you walk up, there was like, again, like 5 or 6 people there. It wasn't very busy, just a Caribbean beach bar, got drinks, food, stuff like that. At the property, there's tennis courts, or a tennis court. So you can play tennis there if you're a tennis player. That does seem to be a fairly big thing on the island, tennis. So I'll hit on that in a little bit, but tennis definitely seems popular on this island. The spa was really cool. I didn't get a chance to do the spa, but it is called the Thai House Spa, and it's like a 300-year-old like Thai building. I assume they must have imported it. I can't imagine that this thing has been sitting in Anguilla for 300 years, but it is a old like Thai looking, Asian inspired spa, and it looked really cool. Trying to think what else I can add about this place. They did sushi. I remember them doing that the one night. I'm not a big sushi. Well, I say I'm not a big sushi. I'm not a sushi eater at all, so I did not partake in that, but it looked good. Um, they've got a rum bar, which was really cool. They had some really unique drinks there, so we did that once or twice while we were there. Trying to think what else. Yeah, it's not a huge property, but I really enjoyed it. It's kind of one thing I would say, and I think they have golf carts for this. It is built kind of on a really steep hill,
Okay.
so it kind of like it ladders up. So if you have like mobility issues, I think you would probably want them to like golf cart you from your room down to um, all the restaurants and stuff are down by the water. So there's a pool area and things like that. But if you have mobility issues, I would say, you probably need the golf cart to like help you get down there. That was one thing I noticed. It was built on this steep hill.
Okay. Interesting. How about so your kids are older. Do you think like younger kids would have a good time there? Do you think maybe wait till they're 10 plus? Like what's your thought?
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to do the kids club, I think, that helps keep them entertained. But as far as like activities for kids per se, I mean, other than the pool and the beach, I mean, if your kids are fine like building sandcastles and playing in the pool all day, like you're going to be fine. But otherwise, I feel like with younger kids trying to keep them occupied, I think Aurora may be the way to go, and we'll probably hit on that in a little bit. But I would say that's like if I had younger kids, that would be my go-to.
Okay. Perfect. I think I'm gonna take over here. We're gonna talk Four Seasons result. Four Seasons Resort and Residence, Anguilla. Now, interesting note, I think, about the Four Seasons. There is like almost 20 room types, and they're not like fake room types. There's a lot of just different villas, townhomes, a penthouse that hopefully we're going to book one of you at soon, and some different like smaller residence and guest rooms. Base room here is 684 square feet. And then if you get into the ocean view, it's a little bit smaller at 660. One thing I love is they allow two adults and a child in every room. So like even their smallest room. So you can do a child. And then if you do the two queen bed version, it's four, whatever, four adults, two children. They said they'll even do two adults, two children, one infant. So you can almost squeeze a family of
Oh, that's
five
nice.
into a room, which that's huge when you think, not to go on a tangent, but I'm working on a trip to Denmark right now. And I think if the second I was showing you, like if you go from two adults to one kid, either the hotel tells you to go F yourself, or they're like, oh, you want to bring a kid? How about an extra $1,000 a night? And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa here.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy.
now I think if you've got a multi-generational trip to this island, you're bringing a big family, whatever, I think Four Seasons has got to be your best bet. They've got this stunning 5-bedroom beachfront villa that just, it looks like a $50 million home sitting on the coast of anywhere, right? It's gorgeous. They've got some smaller options too. I think the 5-bedroom is 8,800 square feet. Ooh, big. There's a 4-bedroom at 7,300, and then you've got a few 4 beds. Those are all on the ocean, and they've all got their own private pools. They've got some outdoor showers, everything you'd expect. If you want to be a little more reasonable, you've got some 4-bedroom townhomes and some 3-bedroom townhomes with fully equipped kitchens. You're about 6,000 square feet there. Most of those seem to be 3 king beds in one room with 2 queen beds. I think you've got some options where it's 2 kings, 2 double queens, and they will allow rollaways and some things there as well. So, man, from a room standpoint, it seems like they've pretty much got most things covered. The interesting thing about this hotel is it really sprawls long across this beach. Now, it does not seem nearly as remote as you made out. It's on like Savvy Beach, but there's a lot of different properties and restaurants kind of like in the general vicinity. And my other property is only about I don't know, half mile, maybe a mile up the beach from the Four Seasons. It's Meads Bay Beach. So Four Seasons is on the south side. My other property is on the north side. So I don't think you're getting the remoteness of Zemi Beach, but this property is just so massive that I don't know if it really matters. Now you're 176 rooms, but some of these rooms are in these homes. So it's, probably realistically 250, 300 beds. So, that's like probably your max amount of people in the property. Looking at a lot of the articles and doing some research, they have put an insane amount of money into their spa here. That seems to be the big focus, is like they're trying to really turn this property into a wellness hotel. So I think the other direction is too, if you're like more on the hip wellness side of things, that seems to be what this hotel's really trying to target to bring people in. They have an 8,800 square foot spa that I guess they're constantly working on expanding. And it sounds like they bring in like guest special masseuses and acupuncturists from the United States that are like well known to come and do like residencies there. They have lots of like LED light therapy. They did acupuncture ear seeds, which I've never even heard of that, but that just goes to show I think they're really trying to push the boundaries of like, hip spa stuff. And like I said, they put a lot of money into that program. So if you're not the biggest spa person, I don't know if you're really going to pull as much of the value out of this property as some of the others. But when I was like reading on some of the sites, it says, Anguilla doesn't have gambling, the cruise ports. There's not really a lot of excess nightlife there. And so they've been trying to turn it the Four Seasons themselves has been looking at and saying like, hey, this place doesn't have the gambling, doesn't have nightlife. So for you to already be there, you're already kind of a certain client. And they're just trying to like expand into that and saying like, hey, we're going to really focus on like wellness and health and some of those things. So it is interesting. They've got some really nice pools. The Meats Bay beachfront looks pretty gorgeous. Um, they also have a lot of racket sports and tennis lessons and some things. They seem to have an outdoor gym, or their gym is
Oh, that's
largely
cool.
outdoor. Like they got a lot of free weights and kettlebells outside, which I found pretty interesting. They also have the Moke rentals that they offer through the hotel. I'm sure it's like the same company just doing some of
Yep.
that. Some of the pool cabanas on the poolside started at 150 US, which I was like, that is one of the most reasonable
Yeah, that's
cabana
pretty.
prices I've ever seen. Now it says starting from, but now if you want to get to the ocean ones, those were over 500.
But it's one of those you
But
probably don't even need it. It's probably not that busy.
it's probably not, but I mean, $150.
Yeah, yeah,
In the grand scheme of what you're probably,
absolutely.
looking at on over weekend, I was pretty pleased. Dining seems pretty high end. They've got more restaurants than I imagined. So they've got a little cafe. They had a restaurant that seems really popular called Salt, which is contemporary fresh seafood and meat. They have a half shell beach bar. They've got a bamboo bar and grill. They've got like a sunset lounge, which is really just like the lobby bar, essentially. So you got a couple of restaurants for being as small as the property is, but going back to, I will say on the map, there's a lot of restaurants and more things. We're in more of a heavily dense area than you were in Zemi Beach. So I think if you did a 4 or 5 night stay, hopefully could, land like a fourth night free. I think you could probably do 2 meals on property, 2 meals out in town or at another hotel. And I think you'd be in pretty good shape here.
Yeah, and I will say that was one, even when we stayed at Zemi and we were asking like for restaurant recommendations and stuff, it seems very common to go to some of the other resorts and other hotels, right? Like I said, there's like 4 or 5, what I'd say like high end, like well known luxury hotels on the island. And it seems like if you were going for a week, like you could pretty much pop into every one of them and hit a restaurant and check the property out.
That's also a fun idea too, especially if it's common. If you really like Anguilla and you're going to want to come back, go poke your head into some of the other properties and get a little cheating tour there. There's a really cool adults only infinity pool that's like on a bluff that overlooks one of the big beaches. And like that was super gorgeous. There's a kids, well, kids pool. It looks just like a very boring plain pool, but it's got a lot of palm trees in it with a lot of beach chairs around that as well. And then there's a family friendly pool on the other side of the beach that's called the bamboo pool. So you've got a lot of pool options. It seems like they provide some form of beach services if you want to go down to some of the beaches. So Four Seasons usually is pretty spot on and nailed down, but it seems like their real unique factor here is the spa, and that's just really what they've been dumping a lot of energy into. So I think for me right now they've got a 6th night free, which usually you don't see them out that far, but something to keep in mind if you're booking quickly. That is an option. But I think the 2 reasons you would pick this hotel, other than if you just love Four Seasons, I mean, that's a great reason to pick it. But I think the 2 unique things here is you've got a lot of multi-generational room options with the residence villas, townhomes. And I think if you're really into wellness and you're a big spa enthusiast, this seems to be, from my limited research, the best spa you're going to find on this whole island.
Fair.
So there you go. What's your next property?
I am going to be hitting Aurora Anguilla. And this is a property that I really want to personally visit in the next year or so. I would say this is probably one of the most unique properties on the island. So
Okay.
first of all, the property is massive. It is over 300 acres, right? So this is a large property and it only has 178 rooms, right? So while it's a large property, it is not a dense property. So that's what I think makes it very unique. It has the only golf course on the island. So if you're a golfer, this is also probably the place to stay. So this used to be the Cuisinart Resort years ago. I don't know exactly when it was bought, but since it was purchased, they have dumped a ton of money into this property. So they have added a water park. This is less than 2 years ago. So I call it a water park. They call it what did they call it? Entertainment. I want to tell you this right. Entertainment park. Um, and the entertainment park looks awesome. So just to start out, it's got a bunch of pickleball courts. It's got a bunch of tennis courts. So probably 5 or 6 pickleball. It looks like 3 or 4 tennis courts. It's got basketball courts. Then you've got mini golf, basketball, climbing walls, bocce ball courts, volleyball, a teen center that's got air hockey, foosball, jukebox, video games. It's got a kids club. But the big thing is that they added was this water park. So it's got water slides, lazy river, swimming pool. So I feel like if you have kids, particularly younger kids, which feels like this is what the water park is kind of geared towards. It's more probably like the up to 12-ish years old, right? It's not like some massive, water slides, but it's got water slides, got the lazy river. I think this would be the place to go, particularly with younger kids. They also opened this amphitheater, which they do some concerts and stuff at. I saw they're doing like a Michael Jackson type concert coming up, which looked really cool. But this place looks awesome. Like I said, the property's massive. There's tons of stuff to do there. And I don't know if it was, multiple properties combined or what, but it has multiple different like towers and wings. So it's got the Mary Wing Beach wing, it's got the Rendezvous Beach wing, and then it's also got some like estate villas. So similar to, Four Seasons, it's got up to like 5-bedroom estate homes with private pools. There's 3-bedroom like villas with private pools. So tons of different accommodation options. And I feel like this is a common theme we're seeing in Anguilla is really big rooms. Their base rooms are 700 square feet again, right? So these are really good size rooms. So even like their base room, when I was looking before, seemed to sleep 4 people. So even like the king ones had like fold out couch, so you could sleep 4 in there. Tons of dining options. So there's probably like 5 or 6 different restaurants here. They have an organic farm on property. I saw that they grow lots of their own like vegetables and stuff that they use in some of the restaurants. So I guess that's a plus of having a gazillion acres. They've got this organic farm that they grow on. You can take tours of the farm, it looks like. So that looks pretty neat. But yeah, this is such a unique property and it actually prices out really well. We booked this for somebody. And I happen to be just looking at it for Labor Day weekend and they've got a promo that was going on and I'm going to make this up, but I want to say, I mean, you were under $500 a night for a 700 square foot room with, a place like this. And that seemed really, really reasonable.
Okay.
But it looks really cool. The beach is beautiful. And because the size of this property, you don't have hotels like on either side of it. So you basically have like your own private beach because there's nothing else around because this place is so huge. It looks back over St. Martin. So it's got really cool views looking back, another island in the distance. It's probably similar to anywhere on the island. You're not far from either the ferry terminal or the airport. I think the ferry terminal's like 8 or 10 minutes away. Airport's 15 minutes away. So, easy drive to get here.
Okay. Did you cover how many restaurants are on property there?
So looking at this, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 restaurants are listed on here. You've got Chef's Table, Sea Level, Tokyo Bay, D. Richards, Breezes, Olivia or Oliva, and Rendezvous Cafe, and then some bars and lounges. So definitely a bunch of options, it seems like.
You really don't need to leave this property.
Yeah, I feel like if you were coming for 4 or 5 nights, like you could just stay here. This is when you probably don't need a car. And I believe this is down kind of at the end of the island where more stuff is. So if you did need to get a cab or something like over to Four Seasons for dinner or something like that, you could probably get away with not having a car here if you wanted.
On one hand, the aesthetic of the rooms here seem really boring, but I also kind of like the very like, I don't know, Santorini vibe of everything's very like white. It's like white buildings, white interiors.
Yes, the white buildings definitely kind of give you that Santorini vibe. Yeah, like looking at this, just oceanfront. I mean, these things the rooms are massive, 700 square feet plus, right? Yeah, it looks awesome. Just I do really appreciate the acreage. I love just grounds to go walk around. And, obviously if you're a runner, you could probably get some miles in without even leaving the property. But I do really appreciate like big acreage where you can just, not feel cramped and crowded. So I think that's really cool.
That is nice. It's definitely the biggest property I think we've looked at. I mean, I'd be tempted to come here too. The prices seem pretty friendly, and then my daughter would really love this. What's not a water park? What do you call it? Entertainment center?
Yeah,
Whatever their
because
technical
when
name
they
is.
added it, they did the water park, they did they've got tennis courts, they've got pickleball courts, like they just did a whole. It's all like right in one section, so they added that on less than 2 years ago.
Cool. But you said they
So it's
don't
all
call it a
brand
water
new.
park, right? It's got
Well,
some other
they call
name.
them they well, it's the water park inside the entertainment park. So in the
Oh, okay.
entertainment park, you've
Whew.
got the amphitheater, you've got the tennis courts, pickleball courts, basketball courts, bocce ball, kids club, water slides, another youth club. So like they've got a whole bunch of stuff right there.
Okay.
And then you've got 18-hole golf course, and I think it was a Jack Nicklaus designed 18-hole golf course. You've got the solar farm in there. I mean, it's a really cool looking property.
Nice. Okay. I like it. And you're right. You're not that far from either of my properties cab wise.
I did want to throw out before we go to your last property,
Sure.
just a couple places I went to while I was there that I thought was really cool. There was a roadside place called Jelly Barbecue. And I found it on
Okay.
like some Anguilla forum, and it was very popular, and we loved it. We went there twice while we were on the island. And it's kind of like it would remind you of like southern kind of home cooking. It's like rice, beans, like oxtails or chicken or ribs, things like that. But it's just like a barbecue place on the side of the road. Very popular, really good. And then another place we went to it was called Anchor Mini Golf. And it's just a standalone mini golf course, but it was really nice, really well maintained. Something to do, like particularly if you're like on the Zemi side where you don't have a ton of stuff going on. It was fun. We went the one night. They have an ice cream parlor there. There was maybe 10 or 15 people at the whole place the whole time we were there. So it was like we kind of felt like we had the place to ourselves. But it was really well, like I said, it was well maintained. It was a nice mini golf course. It wasn't just like some junky, throw some boards down and throw some green carpet down kind of mini golf course. So Anchor Mini Golf, if you're there and looking for something to do, like that was pretty fun.
Perfect. Yeah. And I got from a friend who travels there a bit for vacation. He said Blanchard's, Straw Hat,
Yeah.
Tasties, and Nat's Palm Grove were like his big must do restaurants. So if you want to add those to your list as well.
And then one other place we stopped by, I don't know what kind of programs and things they have, but they have an Anguilla Tennis Academy,
Okay.
which was kind of cool. My daughter plays tennis, so we went and got a t-shirt there. But they do a ton of scholarships and they do a ton of stuff like for locals on the island to, help them learn how to play tennis and hopefully get scholarships, be able to go to college, things like that. But it's really cool. It's worth stopping by. They may have different programs, or if you want to take a tennis lesson or something like that, it's cool to check out and support them. Or you can buy a brick. I saw that you can, to donate money to it. So Anguilla Tennis Academy, they were really nice when we stopped by. I think it was the owner or CEO, whatever of it, that, he went in the back, found us a t-shirt and sold us a t-shirt. So it's worth checking out.
Very cool. Before I give my last property, there's an honorable mention, maybe, I guess. It's called the Quintessence Hotel. It's in the Realis chain. I thought about making it my alternative property. It just doesn't seem like it had enough going on outside of the hotel. It's like a big mansion they kind of converted to a hotel. So if you don't like any of our suggestions, I think that might be another property. It's 11 rooms, suites and villas. It's on Long Beach Bay in Anguilla. It is literally next door to our other property. The prices seem kind of cheap for it being that small, but I think there is a downside also with a property that small. All your other services are, there's one restaurant, there's a beach shuttle because they're not quite on the beach there. There's a spa and things, but it's not holding up to some of these other properties just because it's so small, right? Room wise.
I think Cap Juluca would be my other one.
Yeah. Which is a Belmont property. I did like that
Yeah,
property as well. I know you were on the fence there about
but that's
that
definitely a
does
good
look,
option.
yeah, that does look like a nice property as well. But I am going to take you to the property called Malliouhana.
We think.
And We think, yes. I'm sure everyone on TikTok will let me know how wrong I said the name of this property. Now, this property seems a lot bigger in scale and size. However, it is only 63 rooms. It is nominated as one of the 500 best hotels in the world. So take that with what you will. They claim that they are located on the best beach in the Caribbean. They're actually quoting Condé Nast. However, the interesting thing is this hotel is not far from the Four Seasons, but it is kind of on the peninsula verge of the island. So in one direction, you've got Little Beach Bay, which is like a very remote kind of area. And it says it's only accessible by bay because I think there's like the big cliffs on
Yep.
each side. And then you've got Shoal Bay on the other side, which is this gorgeous like white sand beach, sparkling water. And then you can charter a boat a little bit off the island, but right, like directly kind of in front of the hotel, it seems like is this place called Sandy Island, which is another cool place. And there's like a little beach bar built onto it. So it seems like you've got a lot of exclusivity options here. This property, it kind of falls into the middle where I think the Four Seasons is where I would pick if I was, like I said, really into the spas or multi-generational. I think Aurora is where I would go personally in my life situation with kids now. And I think Aurora is kind of like where I'd fit in the middle. I think this is where I'd really probably prefer if it was me and just my wife, anniversary trip, 50th birthday, 40th birthday trip, and it's just the two of you. I think my favorite thing about this property is the interior design and aesthetic, which I generally appreciate when I'm by myself and if you're going to be on the property a lot. I think they do the best job of design. The Four Seasons is also a little on the dry side, I think. Like, it doesn't really have a lot of Caribbean personality. It looks very much like every Four Seasons in Mexico and a lot of these other properties, which is a little bit of a bummer. Aurora's got that, like I said, the very all white everything, which I don't hate, but I also don't love, where they've got a lot of like teals and pastel yellows inside some of these rooms at this property, and I liked it. Now, from the multi-generational side, they also do have some villas. They're not on property though. They're a couple minute drive away, which made me not love it as much as I think being in the Four Seasons and being like right there. They also do have some large ones that are like 6,500 square feet, 5 bed. They just don't feel like they're as much as part of the property, I guess. And so they've got their own like management. They do have butler service, concierge service, their own security. They offer private chefs. So I think all of those things that you'd want are there, but it doesn't really feel like it's like, I don't know. The fact that you have to drive there, and I'm like, is that really part of the hotel? It obviously is, and they're offering all the services, but it feels like a little
Yep.
removed, which if you want to be more private, you might like that. Sticking with the theme too, the smallest rooms here are in the 700 plus size. And if you're willing to even do like a garden view, like if you don't even need the ocean view, you're 840 plus square feet. So the beachfront
These rooms are massive. These rooms are
yes.
massive in Anguilla. Like there's suites in many hotels that are not as big as the standard rooms at these hotels.
And at this property too, once you get into the ocean view, you have these humongous balconies, on top. And the beachfront premium rooms, which are the smallest size, have direct beach access, like your beachfront with your own beach access. If you want to do a ocean view room, which is you start getting higher above, you have these humongous balconies. I mean, that have like, I don't know what you call those things, like those sun loungers, like the big kind of wide ones, and they have a table and chairs outside, and you can still walk around in these balconies. Humongous. And then if you actually wanted to stay in a suite here, which I think some of these suites are like where they really did a home run on design, their junior suite, 1,350 square feet, right? Bam. And then the next
That's
suite above
massive.
that is a 2 bedroom suite at 2,500 square feet. Then they've got a 2 bedroom ocean view at 1,900 square feet. So once you get on the ocean end, you're getting a little smaller. However, they won't give you prices online, so you're starting to get a little. That gives you a hint. It's expensive when they won't give you a price on the internet for those. And they've got a 3 bedroom suite as well, which is also called to book. So be prepared for that. That's 4,500 square feet, 3 bed, 3 bath. P.S. Jamie or I will gladly call the hotel for you and get some pricing and hammer them down for some discounts, hopefully for you. So if you don't like calling people, we will pick up the phone for you, no problem. Where you might run into an issue here too is there's not a lot of dining options. You've got a couple. They do have, they're very excited about their chef, Kurth Gooms. Kurth Gooms, I think is how you say his name. He is all over their website. He has a fantastic red hat in some of these pictures. There's a place called Leon's at Meads Bay, which is apparently named after their founder. They've got a bar, Soli, which is open noon to 11 p.m. on the terrace there. It looks kind of like their lobby bar, but it's very fun. They've got these like bird cages with candles in them and all this wild art. That's definitely a place I'd like to drink, I think, if anywhere else. But that's kind of it property wise.
This
So
looks. I'm just looking at pictures of your property. It's really cool how it sits out on like that.
yeah,
I
the
don't know what you
peninsula.
call it, like a little peninsula, right? Like it's really neat looking.
It is. And the pools seem really well put together. And that's why I said, like, I think from like an aesthetic standpoint, if you're a very big like vibes person, I think this is my favorite hotel there.
Yeah, it's really cool.
What I would worry about is I feel like my daughter would be a little bored if I brought her here. I think that's like my one hesitation. And by the way, there's a video on the website of their chef, Kurth Gooms, diving into the ocean and pulling live fish out to cook, which, you know, is just fun in general. Obviously, I think it's a little gimmicky, but it's kind of fun. He runs and like lunges into the ocean and comes out holding 2 fish, and then they like transition to him frying the fish. So I think to imply very fresh food. He seems like he's won some culinary awards. Listen, if there's a full virtual tour on the website, and I think that's when you clicked into the video and I was talking to myself about this property. I was like, it is kind of stunning. You've got Celeste, you've got Leon's, you've got the bar. So you do have 2 dining options, but I think on a longer stay, you're going to want to get out of there. You've got some of these beaches, you've got the pools. They do have a wine cellar on property. A couple of these pools have really cool views with just the nature of it being on the peninsula. Like they've got this big infinity pool right on the edge of the property. The spa looks okay. Nothing I would be overly excited about. I went through the gym. The gym has free weights. It's got kettlebells. Some of the machinery looks a little older. It has that one brand that every company in the Caribbean seems to use, that techno
Yep.
gym, right? It's the same ones like Baja Mar and some of those other places. It's got some of the like free running, treadmills, a couple bikes. I think it's enough to get you by. It's certainly not going to be like a memorable gym experience where you're just like, wow, this is the greatest gym I've ever been to. It's got some of those TRX bands for those people that that whole hoopla. I think and they've got another room in the gym for classes and things, it looks like. They do like yoga and Pilates. It seems like some of those things there. Now, I think if you're coming for the spa, I don't think this is where I would be picking. If that's like your end all, I think you got to go to the Four Seasons, unless the Four Seasons is just so much more expensive than here. If you're someone who really likes visualizing things, I will say Malliouhana has probably the best virtual 3D tour. You can like click around and really get into some of the property. You can kind of see the expansiveness from the beach. I think we've kind of covered this. It's on like the more, if you want to be remote, the whole island is remote, right? As we've said, but I don't think this is the most remote property of the properties. So keep that in mind. You could probably walk all the way down the beach to the Four Seasons. When I'm like, man, if I visually just wanted to like mentally check out and be somewhere for the weekend, like with my wife, or I don't know, a solo vacation, I think this is where I'm picking. I didn't have a lot of expectation going in, and like the more I clicked around, and I'm like, they have like the lobby has this huge wall. I think one of the coolest things I saw of I'll have to send you a picture of it if you haven't seen it, but when you like walk in, one side of the lobby has those old school scuba masks, like those really like archaic like looking, they're very
like, oh, I see them. Yep, I see it.
Yeah, like I thought that was just pretty cool, and they're
That's
all
cool.
like backlit. It's very like steampunk era looking, the whole property just seems real fun to me. And I always really appreciate that. When I don't have my kids, aesthetically, like what's the most pleasing, especially if you're going to like mentally check out and be on property a lot, which it seems like on this island, that's going to be your most realistic option because there's not the most going on here, right? I think you're kind of going here to get away.
And that's what I was going to kind of say. Like, this is an island where you go to get away from the crowds, right? It's not like an Aruba or a Grand Cayman where it's like mega resort after mega resort. It's a little bit harder to get here. Most of the properties, if not all, are, higher end, geared towards luxury. All really big rooms, not huge, right? What are we saying? 150 to 200 maybe max at most of these properties.
Mhm.
So you're avoiding the crowds here.
And what more can you say? And like I said, I think this property in particular has one of the most, if you just really need to visualize things, I spent a lot of time and I'm like even clicking around as we're talking now on their virtual tour and like you can go into each room type and then get like a 360 view from each balcony. Aurora seems to be my big pick with kids. Four Seasons, my big pick with a lot of family in the spa. I think this kind of fills every gap for me in between. I don't know where Zemi Beach falls for me, and you've stayed there, so I'll let you kind of speak on Zemi Beach. But you seem to think it was decent for kids, maybe older kids. I think because once you're I don't know over 12, you probably don't care about a water park that much, right? Versus
I don't
my
know.
daughter's 6, so like I mean we last year I mean we did 7 days of Baja Mar for spring break, and my wife was she's like, "What are we gonna do for 7 days?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but we've done
Go to the
5,"
water
and she's
park
not.
every day.
Yeah, my daughter was upset we were leaving.
Yeah.
7 nights, 8 days, and we're like, we have to go home. She's like, yeah, but like the slides, it's just anytime you can integrate a water park into a trip, I think is good. But Zemi's probably between this and Zemi is probably more of your like couples weekend away,
Yeah, I would agree.
options there. And Malliouhana they're in a property type brand for one for every room. It seems like they are a Mr. and Miss Smith property, they are an SLH property, they are a Virtuoso property. So we're definitely able to work on getting you some extra benefits and stuff staying here, which I really
Yeah, I was gonna say,
appreciate. Now,
I think every property we hit, we can book in some type of program, whether it's Hilton for Luxury, Four Seasons Preferred Partners, Virtuoso, something where we can get you at least breakfast for two daily, property credit, hopefully an upgrade, maybe some additional perks.
yeah, and both of the properties that were our honorable mention properties are both in programs as well that we can get as well. So those are also like Virtuoso or additional property options. Wow, I thought this was going to be like a 30-minute and we've cracked the hour mark with, edits and our mistakes. We might be a little bit below an hour, but I think that was a great 60 minutes on our Caribbean island. I think it was helpful as someone that's never been there. I feel far more prepared than I did. I might start pricing out some dates to be honest, which that's the danger of, being in this business. Is you're
I
like, ooh,
know.
what a great vacation idea.
Yeah, I do really
uh
want to get to that Aurora. It looks awesome.
Perfect. And then do you have an idea what island we might tackle next or what's maybe on our radar? You have a preview? You're kind of more
Oh
our
man,
Caribbean master. So
that's a good question. Do we want to do something a little more populated, like an Aruba or Grand Cayman next time?
yeah, I think we should go the opposite. Maybe Cayman would be helpful because I just went. Maybe
Yeah,
we can kind of pair that up with I'm going to do a full episode, I think, on the Kimpton Sea Fire, which is a great property. Maybe we should do that.
okay.
We do like a populated island, not unpopulated island, just
Yeah, I
kind of
like
rock
that.
back and forth. But we probably have a good 10, 12 weeks, I think, right? Of hitting some of
Yeah, I
these.
mean, we
I
can
mean,
work our way through the Caribbean.
we're not going to do these in a row. It's going to be, I don't know if anyone's caught on, but we kind of do. Jamie does a property, I do a property, and then we have like two alternative episodes to fill out the month. So for the next 10, 12 weeks of that first alternate episode, I think we're going to cover a Caribbean island. Hopefully we get some good feedback. If you have an island you think we might skip or you really want to see, shoot us a message, pop us a DM or anywhere you listen. I'd be curious to know. Give us a follow on all of our socials, Travel Bros Pod, I think everywhere. If you go to travelbrospod.com, you can do a contact us, fill out a little form. It helps us get you back info on I know there's a lot of questions in there, but it definitely helps us get you back faster, some pricing information for a stay. We've gotten some new contacts. We've done some new bookings just from fans of the podcast. We love that. We appreciate it. Give us 4 stars, maybe even 5 if you want to feel generous. Anywhere you can anywhere you listen. And hopefully we can help you out for your next vacation. If not, enjoy your next vacation. If you're not going on vacation and you just, I don't know, you're a masochist and you love listening to people talk about vacations, but you don't take any, be my guest. I'm glad to have you as well. And we will see you in a couple, well, next Friday. But
Next Friday.
yeah, hopefully we'll run into you somewhere at a hotel as well. Later, guys.
Yeah.